Welcome to the Q&A video. I thought it was really important to address a lot of questions that you might have when you're starting out as an artist. I certainly had a lot of questions and was desperate to know the answers, and a lot of them came through experience of trial and error and just feeling so called to create that nothing was going to stop me despite all the highs and lows. So I wanted to share some of the wisdom that I've learned over the years, and that may help you on your journey. So the first question that was a huge one for me is, how do you become consistent in your painting practice? So the way that I learned to be consistent in my creative practice was by building it into my daily routine in very small amounts per day. I tried for many years to paint and never really painted consistently because I always imagined there being this like perfect day, this perfect time where like my entire house was clean and I had a babysitter and I had like 5 hours where I could just be uninterrupted. And the fact of the matter is that's not really how my life is. And so when I really became consistent was actually just after I had my youngest. She was only like a month old. And basically I set up my studio space, which is one of my first tips, is make sure that you have all your materials ready to go. You don't have to have a studio space. I haven't always had one. When I first started out, I had a dining room table and just a few supplies, like I mentioned before. So, if you even just have a little bucket that has all of your paints in it, your water jar ready to go, your brushes, where you can just quickly like clear off a surface, put your stuff down and get to it. That's a huge thing. If it's really cumbersome to have to bring everything out and put everything back away, that might be a deterrent for you to get creating, especially if you only have like 30 minutes or an hour or something like that. So I would recommend just having a designated space if you can, even if it's just a small little desk in the corner of your kitchen or your garage or your spare bedroom or something like that. Anywhere that you have where you don't have to take things up and put them back down, that would be great. But if not, just having a bin that you can pull out when you have time to create would be wonderful. The second thing is that everything doesn't have to be perfect in order to get going. You just need about 30 minutes of time, and it helps to set up like a ritual. For me, like how I create now, I don't always create every day, but when I do, there's like a ritual about it. So I wash my paintbrushes from the time before, I fill up my paint water, I put on music, I put on the diffuser. Just getting out and doing that much, it's like you've already crossed over the resistance, as Steven Pressfield talks about in The War of Art. The biggest thing is overcoming the resistance to getting going. So just getting it going will set you on the right track. Another thing that I did when I was super consistent with painting is that I just built it into my daily routine. So I was home with my baby and I basically would just have the routine of like, we would have breakfast, I would clean up the kitchen, and then we would go into the art studio. And at that time, she was just a little baby and I would wear her in the carrier. Over time, she would sit in the little bouncer. And then as she even got older, I set up a space where she could play right next to me, and I would put toys. And then as she even got older than that, she started to paint on her own. And now she even has like her own little table back here in the studio where she can paint, and like a whole wall of craft and art supplies, Play-Doh, all that stuff. So, I don't need to have a babysitter to paint. Like she can be painting She's 6 now, but I've been painting ever since she was born. So having some sort of activity that littles can do while you're doing yours makes it great. And even better if you can just jump back in. Like, for example, this is like first or second layer here, and like when I come out, it's already ready to go. I have all my paints out. I just have to wash my brushes, put on some music, give her something to do, and I can get right into it. So those things really helped a lot. And even now that I don't daily paint, like when she was first born, the first year she was born, I painted every single day, which is unimaginable to me. But it was like 15 minutes sometimes, 30 minutes. It was something that I cared so deeply about that I really wanted to learn my process, and I really wanted to develop my own painting style. And so if that's something that's important to you, being consistent and building in those hours of experience is really going to help you solidify what your process looks like. It will help take you through the ups and downs of that process. There were so many times where a painting wasn't going how I wanted it to go, and I would have to end on a bad note where she was like crying or something and we had to go, and the painting was just not at a good spot where I didn't want to walk away from it. And it was actually kind of torture, because if you know about the creative process, like there are a lot of ups and downs. And so there's the fun, happy times when things are going really great, and then there's the difficult times where you can really take it personally if you don't understand how the process works. And so when I would have to walk away at those times, I mean, there were times where I wanted to give up, I wanted to quit, but getting right back to it the next day really helped me. And by the next day, I'd usually have perspective where I knew what the next move was. I just needed some distance from the painting in order to see that. So needing to walk away or needing to have only having short bursts of time where you can paint is actually fine, and it actually works really well with intuitive painting. So yeah, those are just some of my tips. Is basically have supplies ready to go, have something set up for your little one if you have children, have a little ritual that helps get you going, and build it into a certain time of day where you just know you're going to do it regardless. Also at this juncture, I don't paint every single day because I'm comfortable enough with my process that I know that, you know, a week can go by, or even like multiple weeks at certain times in my life, and I know that I'm going to come back to it. And so I don't have to worry that like it's not going to be there for me. It's always going to be there for me. And in the meantime, I'm living life, I'm gathering experiences, I'm gathering inspiration. And so I know when that first session back is going to be really magic. I'm going to put on music and I'm going to really get into it. And so over time, as you begin to trust your process, you can allow the ebb and flow of creativity and not worry so much about having to be consistent. I think it's more important to be consistent in the early times when you're really learning and developing your process and developing your style. So I hope that helps answer that question.